Imagine waking up from a dream where your local church leader's severed hand is just lying on the floor in a pool of blood.
Right. What a way to start.
Yeah, and then you realize the waking world you were stepping into is actually like far more dangerous than the nightmare.
It really is.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. You, as the listener, are about to drop into a community where faith operates as a weapon. And surprisingly, the most perilous place a person can be is sitting quietly in the sanctuary.
Oh, absolutely.
We are exploring this really fascinating excerpt from Chapter 2 of a story titled Robbers of Life. And our mission today is to unpack this gripping narrative of secrets and religious hypocrisy. We want to extract the deeper themes of how authority can be weaponized.
Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight right off the bat that this isn't just, a dramatic story.
Right.
It's a profound exploration of community dynamics. It forces you to look at the blinding nature of faith and ask, well, what happens when the institutions designed to protect us become the exact engines of our trauma?
Which is such a heavy question. And the author doesn't give you any time to ease into it either. Reading this excerpt feels like walking into the middle of a tense psychological thriller where you just can't trust anyone in a position of power.
You really can't.
Okay, so let's unpack this. When a story starts with a literal severed hand in a dream, what is the author trying to tell us about the waking world we're about to enter?
Well, the subconscious acts as an alarm system. It processes the terrifying realities that the conscious mind is trying to repress. And we see that perfectly in Sarah's vivid nightmare.
The details of that dream are wild. I mean, Sarah actually transforms into an exercise book that her friend Stella is writing in.
Right, which is so deliberate. A
Yeah.
book is where truth is documented,
Mm.
and then Pastor Kiandandu shows up and threatens to burn it with a matchbox.
Which is the classic abuser move, right? Destroy the evidence.
Exactly. But Stella fights back. She uses a panga machete and literally severs his arm.
And the most horrifying part isn't even the violence, it's his reaction.
Yeah, the image of him just putting his severed hand into his coat pocket.
It's chilling. He pockets the hand, grabs the bloody panga, and prepares to attack Stella. He doesn't bleed out or retreat at all.
No, he absorbs the injury. It signals to you that this man will take the very weapon used against him and turn it back on his victim.
Okay, so put yourself in Sarah's shoes for a moment. You wake up from that psychological horror show, your heart is pounding, and your mother immediately wakes you up for church.
Talk about jarring.
Seriously. The narrative violently shifts from the surrealist bloodbath to the mundane reality of a Sunday morning on a Kenyan farm. She's eating cold githeri seasoned with salt, drinking tea from a thermos.
It's so tactile.
It is. And she hears the cows mowing from hunger outside. So she puts on her gumboots, goes out to cut Napier grass, and we get this highly detailed recipe for cow feed.
Yeah, the exact measurements.
Right. She mixes bran, a gallon of dairy meal, salt, and water. It's like, well, to me, the dream feels like a surrealist Dali painting where an everyday object becomes an instrument of trauma. But then we get this farm chore scene.
And it lasts a surprisingly long time.
Exactly. So my pushback here is it possible Sarah's meticulous focus on mixing the exact right amount of bran and dairy meal is like a coping mechanism just to avoid processing the sheer terror of that dream?
I think that's a brilliant way to look at it. The mundane chores serve as an anchor. When your subconscious is screaming that a predator is nearby, the brain craves predictable inputs.
Because the ratio of bran to water makes sense, it has rules.
Yes, precisely. Pastor Kiandandu does not have rules. The dream foreshadows the violation of Stella's life, showing that Sarah's subconscious already knows the pastor is a threat before her conscious mind fully catches up.
And man, her conscious mind gets a wake-up call the second she leaves for church. The tension established in the dream instantly bleeds into reality.
Literally on the way to the service.
Right. Sarah is hiking a lift, and who picks her up? Stella and Pastor Kiandandu in his car.
So awkward.
It's suffocating. Stella offers this bizarre, mocking apology to the pastor. She says, forgive me, I beg, just give me the money I need to accomplish your joy.
And she's holding his hand while she says it.
Yes, as if she's counting his fingers, which is an incredible callback to the dream where his hand was severed.
It's her physical reminder to him that she can destroy him.
And his response is so compliant and chilling. He just says, you almost killed me. Could we meet tomorrow at the bank and settle the matter?
They are openly brokering an extortion payment.
In the car. Which brings us to a moment outside the church that really made me pause. Here's where it gets really interesting. Stella pulls into the church compound and parks in a highly visible spot.
Not exactly keeping a low profile.
Not at all. There are two groups of women gossiping. one right where Stella confronted the pastor previously, and another by the incomplete church hall. The whole congregation is stretching their necks, peeping through windows.
They are definitely putting on a show.
So if Stella's extorting him, why is she making it so public? Isn't she putting a massive target on her own back by parking right in front of the local gossip mill?
It looks like a massive tactical error, sure.
Yeah.
But she is actually weaponizing the community's gaze.
How so?
Well, you have to look at his power. His institutional authority relies entirely on his pristine public image. By making this interaction public, Stella takes control of the narrative.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, she is trapping the pastor in his own public image. It's risky, but it's her taking her first little steps to her freedom.
So the gossip ecosystem becomes her shield. That is fascinating. But it takes a toll on Sarah to watch this, because the public spectacle outside transitions directly into this highly orchestrated, hypocritical performance inside the sanctuary.
Right inside the vestry.
Yeah, Sarah helps the pastor carry his briefcase to the vestry, and she watches him change into his clerical garb. He puts on this white and green cloak with red patches.
It's a very specific uniform.
And seeing it sends Sarah into an internal crisis. She starts thinking about how the devil manipulates things to hurt God, and this whole fight between light and darkness.
The lies versus the truth.
Exactly. To me, that white and green cloak is basically a magician's cape. It's a costume designed to distract the audience, the congregation, while he performs his sleight of hand.
That is a perfect analogy.
Because later, Sarah falls asleep during the sermon, wakes up to the choir preparing for the offering, and sees the pastor sitting completely unmoved on the holy chair.
Clapping along to the offering song.
Right, and then moving to the pulpit to bless the money.
This is where we see the pattern of institutional betrayal. The tragedy isn't just what the pastor did to Stella.
No, it's how he uses the sacred space as a shield.
Exactly. Sarah realizes that truth reveals itself slowly, but lies currently triumph. The church is actively facilitating his predation.
Which pushes Sarah to her breaking point. She actually says she had had enough gullible and leaves early.
Which is totally out of character for her.
Yeah, normally she stays until around 4 p.m. for youth rehearsals, but she just leaves abruptly. And she retreats to the safety of her home where the unfiltered truth finally comes out.
Behind closed doors.
Right. She surprises her parents by coming home early. Her mother mentions these confusing rumors that Stella is pregnant or sick, and people are pointing fingers at the pastor.
But the mother dismisses them, naturally.
Of course. And then Stella visits. The narrative calls her the Queen of Truth in this moment. She isn't jovial or radiant anymore. She is hurting inside.
The physical toll is obvious.
So they eat lunch and play a game of Scrabble, which the text actually calls Scramble, putting aside their past bitter feelings to work together.
That misspelling scramble is such a great metaphor for what's happening.
It really is. And as they play, this horrifying backstory is revealed. Kiandandu booked Stella into a hotel and gave her medication that severely backfired.
It was a botched abortion.
Yes. She suffered immense pain, heavy bleeding, tried to call the unreachable pastor, and eventually fainted. She woke up with a quack doctor.
Just completely abandoned.
And she had to spend a month indoors eating bodybuilding foods to recover, while her worried parents were out reporting her missing to the police.
The level of trauma is staggering.
So wait, I have to stop and ask, what does this all mean? They are sitting around playing a board game while discussing a near-fatal botched abortion in a hotel room.
It feels very jarring.
Extremely. How do we reconcile this casual domestic setting with the sheer horror of what she survived?
Well, you have to connect it to the bigger picture of trauma survival. Traumatic memories are chaotic. The game of Scrabble is a metaphor for Stella trying to literally put the fragmented pieces of her life back together.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, she needs the low-stakes rules of a board game and a safe environment to articulate what happened.
She needs that grounding anchor, just like Sarah needed the cow feed recipe.
Exactly. And the trauma of that hotel room directly fuels Stella's radical change in behavior when she goes back out into the village.
Right, because she returns looking shiny and healthy, but her personality has completely flipped. She becomes rebellious, disrespectful, bad-mouthed.
She builds a fortress.
She does. She wears this revealing fashion that makes older people close their eyes. She even takes taxis just 500 meters to her gate so she doesn't have to walk through the village.
She is isolating herself from the community that failed her.
But it has a ripple effect. The other children start idolizing her, which freaks out their parents, who then confront Stella's helpless parents.
And this leads to the ultimate tragic irony of the text.
It's so heartbreaking. Stella's devastated mother senses a curse on the family. And in her desperation, who does she go to for prayers and solace?
Pastor Kiandandu.
The very monster who caused it all. And the pastor dedicates a day each month to pray for the children while actively destroying them behind the scenes. It's like a sheep asking the wolf to form a search party for a missing lamb.
That is exactly what it is. And the text gives us a perfect metaphor for this. It describes the community as walking in a forest at night without moon in the sky or torch at hand.
Because they refuse to see what's right in front of them.
Right. It's the sunk cost fallacy of blind faith. The community's blind trust allows this mixture of secrets, hypocrisy, and innocence to fester. It makes it impossible for well-meaning people like Stella's mother to see the predator in plain sight.
If she acknowledged the truth, her entire spiritual foundation would collapse.
Exactly. So the innocence of the community becomes the abuser's shield.
Which brings us to the core message of this deep dive. This story isn't just about one corrupt individual. It's a study of how systemic trust can be exploited.
And how victims are forced to wear masks of rebellion just to survive.
Yes. So for you listening right now, we want to remind you to consider the cloaks of authority in your own life. We all navigate structures of power workplaces, communities, institutions.
Places where we are asked to blindly trust the person at the pulpit.
Exactly. This story is an urgent reminder to keep your eyes open, which leaves us with a final, lingering question drawn from the very last line of the excerpt.
It's a powerful line.
It is. The text states that only Stella and other culprits would rip out the mask and let the world see the light.
The burden is entirely on her.
Right. So I want you to ponder this. Why is it that the burden of unmasking a predator almost always falls on the victim whose life has already been shattered?
It's a profound injustice.
And if Stella does rip off the mask, is the community people like her own mother even ready to look at the horrifying truth underneath? Or will they just close their eyes exactly like they do when she walks down the street? Something to think about.